Hi there! Let's make sourdough bread. First, we're gonna need to feed our starter. I only keep about 30 grams of starter at all times, so I feed as much as I will need to make the bread, and I make sure I always have 30 grams left. For one loaf of bread, we'll need 30 grams of starter, 50 grams of whole wheat flour, 50 grams of water in room temperature. I'm making 2 loaves here, so I'll be using double of everything. Make sure you mix it very well. Put an elastic on the jar so you know when the starter reached double its size. I like to do the outlets right after feeding the starter, but most commonly people do it for only 1 or 2 hours. These are the flours I use that are available in South Korea. I purchased them online at either Gmarket or Coupon. Use the water in room temperature. I like to mix the ingredients first with a spatula and then use my hands. Set the starter to grow until it doubles in size. This will depend on the temperature of your house. In cold days, it might take longer. We must mix the starter well with the dough. This might take around 10 minutes, and if this is the first time you're making the bread, you might feel your hand and your arm a little bit sore. Cover and set aside again. Mix well until you can't feel any salt in your hands anymore. Set aside again, and 2 hours later, we're gonna release the bread from the borders of the bowl and stretch the dough and fold into itself. I only repeat this step a couple of times. We can see the air bubbles are starting to form. Cover the bowl and set aside for another 2 hours. Since it was such a nice day out, I went for a run. When I got back, the dough had grown quite a bit. Time for another stretch and fold. When you stretch and fold, it's good to have your hands lightly wet, so the dough doesn't stick to them. I'm really happy with this consistency. Another 2 hours, excuse my post-shower look, but how gorgeous is our dough looking? This is our last stretch and fold. It's finally time for pre-shaping. Again, I'm doing 2 loaves here. If you did just one, there's no need to divide the dough. I have to address that my technique isn't great. I have been doing this bread for only a year, so I'm still learning. Basically, what I'm doing is to pull the sides to the center and try to pre-shape into a round dough. I should have used more flour in the board here to prevent the dough from sticking. Now we do the final shape. I'm using banetones, but if you don't have it, just cover a regular bowl with a clean cloth, flour it well so it doesn't stick, and it works perfectly. Place the dough upside down in the banetone. Lightly flour the dough, then cover with a plastic wrap or a plastic bag. Place it on the fridge overnight. I usually bake the bread first thing in the morning, but today I had a shooting to go, so I'll bake once I get back. After 2 hours of proofing outside of the fridge, it's finally time to bake. Preheat the Dutch oven for at least 40 minutes at 230 degrees Celsius. The right tool for scoring the dough is a lathe, but even though I have one, I prefer using a razor. If you do use a razor, be extremely careful. This is the only scoring I know how to do, so Now let's take our preheated Dutch oven out. Use good gloves for this. Careful, careful, don't drop. Now we bake with the lid on for 26 minutes at 230 degrees Celsius. Gloves on, take off the lid and back to the oven for another 24 minutes, 230 degrees Celsius again. And our sourdough bread is ready. Now we have to wait for at least 2 hours before cutting. This is the really difficult part for me. Now I have to bake the other one. I really wish I had a bigger oven. And here's one of my favorite ways to eat it for breakfast. Avocado, salt, lemon, and a fried egg.